we try to residential meeting because I thought it was only for those who actually went to residential school. But I realized that I'm affected because of my parents being in the schools and my sisters being in the schools. And today I am thankful. The Creator has given me a second chance of life. And whatever direction He throws me in, that's the direction I believe I will be told to go in. All I tell people today is, all I can do is pray. I pray. And the only way that I can find is the Catholic faith. I can't even say my prayers in German because I was never taught them. And maybe if I was, maybe when I was small, maybe if I had listened, maybe I would have understood it and was able to speak the language, but I wasn't taught it. We all learn that the words. The other day was a passion, but never a language. And I just, I pray for the next generation because I know already this generation is lost. They're searching, the same way I searched. They're searching for their identity. How can our children know who they are if we don't even know who we are? I've always said that we forgot how to be better people. I know that the better people were kind and gentle. But I think we also have the power to heal, and we can do it together. I've always admired the community where Dave comes from. Because I remember hearing about it through the, watching the movies, the programs that they have. And I've always just to think, wow, the community sure has it together. They learn to heal together. They learn to forgive. They're learning all these things. And it just seemed like that was something that was way beyond our reach. We couldn't reach that because it was happening out there. But I'm glad today that we're able to come together and I've learned that the concerns are the same everywhere. The issues are the same across Canada. All the reserves are the same, issues are the same, alcoholism is the same no matter where you are, no matter where you come from. And with that, I want to thank you, and I wish you all well, and keep it.
Should I apologize because I have no, I shouldn't say none at all, but the negative things that's happened in my life is just little things that I could mend. My sister and I were perhaps one of the lucky ones as we were growing up. Lucky in the sense, when we came back from Blue Hills for holidays, we had a strong family unit. My grandparents were old, and that's where we stayed. My mother was a widow, so she didn't have a choice but send us to Blue Hills. So that's where we all grew up in Blue Hills. But the thing my mom always said was, go to school, finish school. If you don't work in school, I'm going to leave you there for until he finished grade 12, and that was scary. So we just kept trucking, and all of us went through grade 12. See, my mother is a Métis, and my father is Cree. The way my mother saw things was, she was poor, she was Métis. Treaty Indians got everything. That's, I don't know if the concept is still there, but she taught us, you don't get anything for nothing. You've got to work. And that's what we heard right through our life. So she made sure we went to school. And you all know my mom, she was very religious. And of course, all of us fell on the wayside, but I'm sure it's through my mother's prayers that we all turned, not bad, I'm not saying good, not bad. And most of us finished high school. And as Pauline said, she was the eldest in the family. So her mother, I can see that. Her mother depended on her a lot to be the example. And that's how I felt too. I had to be an example. Not only for my immediate siblings, but for all my other cousins. And today, I'm past 65, I'm not saying how many years, but my cousins say, hey, we looked up to you. You were always our example. I was. I didn't know. So, of course, you all know, I loved Archie. Okay. So, we had a very good life with 2 beautiful children, and I just loved him to a point where that man, you all know, you probably all raised your eyebrows and said, oh, that Archie's drunk, you know. But you know, towards the end, that man turned completely. And he, of course, he had cancer, and he would not go to sleep until I sat by him and prayed with him. He just turned. And I always thank God for that. And the children saw that. And he loved his children from his first family and the children that I have. And I guess that way too. He was a very stern man. You all know that. He was like, you know, stern guy. And I never thought of blaming residential school because my mother was strict. She was never even close to residential school outside of the fact that she worked in residential school. But to live there as, you know, to grow up, no. But she was also raised from a strict family. So to me, when I went to Blue Quills, it was like, not very strict as my mother, you know. And my mother became a widow when I was 9 years old, and then I had all the little siblings. I remember she came to Blue Quills when she was 4 years old. She was just a baby. So all of us grew up in Blue Quills, but we all struggled. We all went through it, and today we just shelved it. But I guess we were lucky in a sense where we did not have any problems with alcohol, with whatever this and that. So that way I say we're very lucky, and I say it's because my mother was so religious. That woman prayed. One day she said, you know, Irene, I don't think you ever pray. Mom, would you believe I pray every night? I don't think so. You're just shutting up with Archie now. Doesn't mean to say I don't pray. My mother. And But I grew up in a very loving family. Like my grandmother, the million I'm exaggerating, but it was like a million grandchildren, every one of them. They were brought in, they were little, right up 2 years old. She would put them on her knee, and she would be singing plus kissing them all. She was a loving, you know. So all my aunties were towards all the kids. We were always that way. We were always loved. So I guess that way we were very lucky. And so my mother pushed us. So we did. Mind you, I didn't finish till I was 45. So I mean, there was a lot of fights between going to university and finishing, but it's okay. I got over it. So today, I am proud of my family, I can say that, and the children. And I married a second time with very wonderful, loving man. So I had I never did suffer abuse in any way with the two men. I had a friend come into my house one day and she said, "Don't you hide the guns when Archie is out?" I said, "What for?" And she said, I said, "I go to bed, I don't even know when he comes home, you know." But to her, she said, she hid butcher knives and she hid guns because her husband drank. But I never had to go through that. So I guess I was one of the lucky ones. But my problem today, my heartache today, is our children. I say our because I've taught Legoff, Broadway, Keewan, those children. And that is where I'd like to be if anything ever comes up to better things. I only have one theory, and that is young mothers have this saying, "I've got to have a break from my kids. I can't." You remember saying that? Remember saying that, Scholastic? I don't think so. When you are a mother, you're 24/7, you're there forever. But the young mothers now, just tell them, "Mom, can you take care of them? I need a break from the kids." Hello? Number one, we married the guy, or whatever, fell in love with the honey, because we loved him. And the children that come out of that love is love. So you should love those children no matter what. Love them when they're teenagers as much as you want to give them away for nothing. You know, teenagers are, but they're okay. But they grow out of it, I'll tell you that. They grow out of it and you know it. And that's where I'd love to be involved, is our young people. I hate it. I'll be blunt with you, and you have heard this, and it's worse when you're teaching. You're teaching your class, it's going so well, a kid comes in mad and da-da-da. You ask him to do something, I don't want to do it. And you go to them and they say, F off, you know. That hurts, because we, as children, young people, never, ever, ever, as much as said ta to an elder, ever. And now the kids, and that's where it is. And I've been thinking about these kids, like that's my native kids. What happens too is, I've been observing, when we were teenagers, girls, we were asked to babysit. We didn't abuse children. We loved them as much as their mothers loved them. Today, I
think it matters, boy and a girl, or a boy, whoever the babysitter is. They're about 13, and mother or father says, "You're staying home tonight keeping the kids." Yeah, you know, but you're staying home keeping the kids. There's little ones like this. I have seen this, where those big guys expect these little ones to behave like talk, like little soldiers. Kids are kids. And that's when they start being abusive in a sense. They shove the kid into bed, never mind saying, "Good night, baby, have a good sleep." Shove the kid into bed or whatever. Go sit in the corner. It's these older teenagers, we don't know it, but they abuse these little kids. And I think sometimes as these little guys grow up, well, that's the way to be. I can't wait to be that tall because I can push somebody around. And we complain about violence. Underneath, we might be enablers of that violence. Even if we say, "Oh, I don't know why my kid is so mean." And there's such a thing as, "How come, Mom? How come so-and-so's kids can do what they want and I can't?" Well, I'm sorry, you're my kid, you know. And we're starting to, okay, then go and stay over it. How do you know? All of us know we're the last ones to know what our kids are up to. We're always the last to know. This side could be gossiping about Agnes's kid like till those kids are nothing. But does anybody dare go, does anybody go to Agnes? You know, Agnes, we know this, you know. Doesn't matter how she accepts it, at least she knows she'll handle it then with her kids. But, endless gossip is the other thing in an Indian community. You know, it just, to me now, I just, poof, shelve it. I hate that. We're forever. My kid doesn't do that. Or somebody tells you, "Did you know that your kid was at that drunken party last night?" "Oh no, he was in bed. My kid wouldn't go there." Come on, you be honest. You know? Why are you laughing, Baptiste?
My kids weren't
I
there.
know that because I've been told.
My kids weren't.
No, my kids didn't do that. You know.
My kids don't do that.
Me too. They didn't do that when they were teenagers. But we have to be honest and true with our young ones. We really do. The ones that worry me most are the ones from grade 4 to grade 8. That's the difficult age. It's getting lower and lower. Those kids. Why is it, I wonder, why is it like, I remember when we were kids, I'm saying we because I see a lot of my age. Maybe they're all younger than me, but when we were kids, if two elderly, didn't have to be elderly, older people were talking, there was no kids running in between. Never. They were told. They didn't even have to be told. All they did have was a look, and they went around. They never went to the parents and said, "Listen to me," you know, while they're talking to a friend. Ever. We didn't do that. Sometimes I think, yes, it's good to listen to children, but I'm still a believer in that time and place. It's just a matter of, that's where I'm old-fashioned, I know. But you know, and we talk about the circle. I figured that out. I was teaching Cree in junior high. And you know how you have the babies, children, or the different ages? And so the kid said, "You know, Miss Dion, that should be divided. How so? Some of us are adults before we even get to that stage. And it's true. Lots of those kids know a lot more than we think. Because, I don't know. And the other thing, I don't mean to insult, but the other thing that's killing us is bingo and slots. I'm sorry. I used to go to bingo in Legoff once a month because I had to be there. But once a month I'd go just to go out. And I was so insulted when I walked to the counter and it said, "Keep grandma off the street, send her to bingo." And don't get way, how dare you say that? But still, there's always something, bingo, sometimes you are lucky. But I think we should have, our grandparents, our parents had such a thing as self-discipline. I can't go because of the children. I can't go because of my mother's sick. I can't go because, but now, I don't know sometimes. I gotta go because bingo is at 6:30. It's too bad. But we can go. I have nothing against bingo, really I don't, but sometimes if it's people are telling me it's an addiction. I have no idea. I drank, but never to drink because I like to drink when people came to my house and they were good company and gone. That was it. Like, I was lucky that way too. I was never total to one side. So, I think, like all of you said, we have to heal ourselves before we can get at our children. Please, let's heal ourselves soon. Big and fast, like next week. No, I'm just kidding, but our kids, hey, how many of you can say in the morning, Saturday, okay, nobody's going anywhere till you have that to do, you have that to do, da-da-dum, and when lunch is at 12. They come in at lunch, did you do your work, did you do your work? I think we don't give enough work to our kids. My grandmother told me I would hate to be a mother in this day and age because she said the kids have nothing to do. She said I had 8 children, but there was wood to be got in the woods. There was hay to be got. There was animals to be fed. There was wood to be, all the little jobs we did. But look at our kids today. Don't yell, take out the garbage. It sits there till you start. I wonder what's smelling in here, Hey, that's your job, do it. And I think if we all, I know it's hard. I know it's hard. Do the dishes. I've seldom seen girls where everybody eats and right away they run for the dishes. But then on the other hand, ladies and gentlemen, I think if you have boys and they start falling in love and they have a honey, just tell them, can she do dishes without being told? No, I'm just kidding. But I told my kid, I don't want you coming in here playing house. And I count shoes the minute I get up. You think I want to serve another useless, I'm gonna say, useless tit like you? Forget it. I'm tired, like I wait on you. I'm not going to wait on a girl who knows how to make a bed, should know how to do dishes, should know how to, clean up. How many of you have seen girls that are so in love and they don't do a damn thing except want to sit and, you have to be. I think our parents, I know with you guys, with me, they were very, very blunt at what they said. And that's our mistake too. We understood our native language. And when they told us something in our language, I mean, they didn't mince any words. It was like, hey. And now it's things, language, I don't know. Like I say, let's mend the teenagers. That's where I feel. Mind you, on the other hand, as a teacher, I was strict with the kids. But today, those kids come to me, still call me Miss Dion. Hi, Miss Dion, how are you? I don't know if it's because I don't know. You can be strict and be loving to those kids in the same whatever. I loved every one of the kids that I taught. It didn't matter. I don't know what it is. I think the other thing too, if you could instill into our teachers, you're not here only for the money. We want you. Do you love kids? Yeah. You have to love those children, and they know it. You have to be. Some of those kids don't have the love, or not the love, but kids love to be hugged. How many of you love to be hugged? I do. Now I have nobody to hug me. No, my kids. All of us love to be hugged. So, hey, let's hug those kids. Teenagers, they always, but just hold them there and hug them. Say you're doing good. And they walk away just kind of, I know that. Teenagers are the upcoming parents. That's where I think we have to hit from, let's be a hit game. From grade 4 to grade 8. That's right. And they won't forget. And I don't know about you guys, but when we were kids, if my uncle and aunt saw me do something, boy, they came to the house and told my mother, and they just told on me. Everybody, this, what's that, to raise, what is it? It takes the community to raise a child. We grew up in that stage, in that age. But now, if what you call our aunt picks on my young girl, I'm going to go to her and challenge her and say, how dare you say that? And if she saw my kid do something bad, she should be able to say, hey, this kid's really my fault. Anyway, thanks for listening. I'm talking like a teacher. I go on and on. Recess time, so time. And my little sister, she said, you do the talking for me, so I did. Thank you.
Talk like a nun.
No?
You should have been a nun.
That's it. You don't know my life.
I think the elders want to take a break.
Yeah, I gave them recess.
Does anybody know what that means when you have the feather, when you're in a circle? My turn to speak. Correct. Does anybody know that it is disrespectful that if someone else has the feather, it can be a walking stick, it can be a rock, that it is disrespectful in our teachings, that if someone else has it and you start talking or whatever, then that's disrespectful. So as long as I've got the feather, and I'm going to be doing most of the talking, then basically no one else will be talking while I have the feather. That's something that we learn. It's part of who we are. I'll start out by introducing who I am. My name's Len, and I'm an organization in Edmonton called the Spirit Keeper Youth Society. And in the last 2.5 years, we've done probably workshops on 30 to 40 reserves. And what we do, we try to convince people, louder, we try to convince people, or young people, kids, that joining the gangs is not a good thing to do. We don't tell you don't do it, but I'm going to give you some of the reasons why about gangs, how they work, who they are, how they operate, and then you can make your own decision whether you think it's a good idea or not, okay? But before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of background about myself. You're probably wondering, what's this old white guy know about native gangs? Well, first off, you're only half right. I am old, but I'm not a white guy, okay? Like, I'm a First Nations member, carried the Kettle Reserve in Saskatchewan. But I grew up in places like Winnipeg and Brandon in Manitoba, and when back in the 50s, there's probably, I'm the only one probably born, there was a lot around in the 50s. That's when gangs, native gangs started. And I was one of the kids, when I was about your age, 14, 15, that I was responsible, it's not something I'm proud of, that we started native gangs going. A lot of the things that gangs do today, a lot of the rules that they have, a lot of the things that they have, started and come from that particular era. And then, but let me tell you what the real gang, let me give you an idea. A lot of you might think it's fun. One of those guys said that gangs are cool. What I want to do is give you an idea. Not all gangs are the same. And you have to be very, very careful that you don't profile the gang, because there's many, many different gang situations. A gang can be 3 people that are gathered together for a nefarious purpose. Nefarious means to do something wrong, something bad. That can be a gang. The first echelon of gangs, the big guys, and you never catch them alive in a place like this, in order to be a legitimate, bona fide gang member, you have to get your patch. Now, getting your patch, if you're going to be a school teacher, you got to go to university, and you got to get your degree. If you're going to be a tradesperson, then what you have to do, you have to take your apprenticeship. The apprenticeship to be a legitimate, bona fide gang member is a prison term. That prison term has got to be served in a penitentiary. So let's say that you decide you want to join a gang, and it's real cool. Unless you just want to be, and this isn't a swear word, it's a female dog, it's a dog. Unless you just want to be a bitch, then basically if you want to go further up in that gang, you got to make the decision that if you want to move up the ladder, you have to do a prison term. And the prison term that you have to do has to be in a federal penitentiary, which means it's a 2-year sentence. That's the way, that's part of what you have to do to be a gang member. Not only that, when you want to get into a gang, the real gangs, they have a process that they do, and you have to do something to show that you want to be in that gang. And to get in that gang and to be a legitimate gang member, anything other than that is just kid stuff. You're not a real gang member. So basically, in order to get a gang, you may have to do something. They may ask you to go over and do a home invasion on your friends, kick the doors down, maybe beat up somebody's grandmother, just to show that basically you're loyal to them. The other way that you get into a gang is you get jumped in. Does anybody here know what getting jumped in is? Anybody got an idea? Does anybody here think it might be cool to be in a gang? Let me show you that if you want to get into a gang, let me show you what getting jumped in is. Let's get this big fella here. You come on up here. And you come on. Can you come up here? Can you come up here? We're bigger fellas. Yeah, you come on up. Richard, I need you. So you guys stand to your side, to your breast in there, right, right. You stand here, you stand right beside the shoulder to shoulder. Like in a line, like yeah, okay. You stand here, you come on up here, you stand beside him, you come on up here, you stand beside him, and yeah, just right beside him. Get real close, like, not touching you, real close. Now, you're gonna join my game. So here's how it works. What's your name? Brady? Brady wants to be a member of my gang. And I just want to make sure that he's real serious about becoming a member of my gang. So what we're going to do for him, instead of him doing a home invasion and doing some damage to somebody just to show his loyalty, what we're going to do with him, we're going to jump him in. So what, Brady, you come over here. What you're going to do, I'm going to time it for 1 minute. When I say go, what you're going to do is you're going to go through that line. Now, my guess is that this big guy is probably going to put you down before you get to anybody else. And for 1 minute, what I'm going to do on my watch for 1 minute, I'm going to let them kick you and jump on you and smash you and hit you for 1 whole minute. And then if you survive that, then you can join my game. Now, let me ask you a question. This is serious. Let me ask you a question. Has anybody here read about the story that Feed in the Heaven of the Sun about the red alert guy that's on life support in the hospital? Has anybody ever read that story? Okay, one of the top guys in red alert, he's in the hospital, he's on life support, and I know him. I know him for a while, because he's helped me out, he's done some work out. But he wanted to get, this is getting you in the gang, okay? So what that means. He wanted to get out of the gang, and he's been in the gangs for probably about 11, 12, 13 years. He's 30 years old. He wanted to get out. So they decided, and he agreed to it, that he could get jumped out. So he was in the remand center, and his own gang, there was 4 down, 4 here, and he did this. Only what they did, what you do, when you get jumped out, then what I do is I time it for 2 minutes. Now, you may not think that's a long period of time, but if you're down and guys are kicking you in the head, and they're stomping on you, and they're hitting you, and like that is a lifetime. What happened with this young fella is that basically he never came out of it. See, and that's the idea. When they jump you out, they want to make sure that when you're out, you're not going to go to another gang or you're not going to do anything because you're not going to be a productive person. When you choose to get jumped out, you have 2 choices. They'll jump you out and you try to survive that, or else sometime in a short period you get out, then they'll take you out. In other words, you walk down the street. So most guys who get jumped out, the reason they decide to take the jump out is because if they survive that, then they're done. They'll never bother them again and they're free. But if they choose not to, they can get it any time. Yeah. Hold it. Okay. Yeah. No. No, he would be able to fight. But let me ask you something. If he steps in there and this guy puts him down, and you guys are kicking and stomping on him, and he's on the ground, and you're standing up, yeah, he could fight back, but what harm is he going to do? See, that's the idea. The guy can fight back, but usually they put the biggest and strongest guys as the 2 first guys. And the person that they're bringing in is absolutely no match for those 2 guys. I mean, it's a setup from the word go. So they know, me as the gang leader, I know that when I put him in here, I know he's not going to get by him. I know it. So I know he's going to take him down. I know as soon as he goes down, I got another big guy at the end there. His foot's going to go on your head first. So when you're down, you're going to stay down. And you're going to stay down. And that's getting jumped out, and that's how you get killed. Okay, thanks a lot. I really appreciate your help. Now you stay here. The rest of you guys sit down. You stay here. Just Tim. What's up? They're all leaving on me? Oh. You want to do it after? You guys, everybody's done. What's that? Okay, are they coming back? Yeah. Because are they almost ready for that? Well, I'll just go a little bit till getting ready for supper. You come up here, I want to show something else, okay? Any of the elders coming back for the supper? Okay, because then we can do it after, I don't mind. Okay, we'll pretend this was that this was Brady and Brady just left. But I want to show you one more thing, and then we'll take a break and then we'll have lunch and then we'll do it afterwards. This is Brady. Okay, Brady. Now, you survived. It's 2 or 3 weeks later, you're out of the hospital and you're kind of healed and whatever, so now you're a member of my gang. So there's one thing that I want you to know. Just come on here, turn around. One thing that I want you to know, that now that you're a member of my gang, I'm always behind you. I'm always backing you up. But I'm always right behind you. No matter where you go, I'm behind you. Now, what happens if there's a drug deal going down and the police are coming? Who gets caught? Yeah. What happens if there's a drive-by? Who gets shot? What happens if some other gang members are coming after me? Who goes out and gets it? So that's how I am always behind you, and I'm always backing you up. Thank you for your help. I think we'll probably take a break here because all the kids left. But that's the first part. When we talk about getting into a gang, that's the first part. Is that basically, if you want to get in, that's what you have to do to get in. And if you want to get out, and you've been in there for a long time, the only way you can get out is go through that getting jumped out, or else take the chances and you'll get it on the street. Because after you've been in a gang for that long a time, you have far too much information. Yes?
What are the girls? What are the girls for?
Okay. In the real world, and the way that it used to be, the girls did not have gangs. Now it's changed now, and that's what I'm going to get to, is how in the last 2.5 years the whole scenario has changed. Basically, when gangs got going, it's like it's with the native gang especially, and it's a native guy thing, is that it's roads before holes. And basically, girls they were not members, they just belonged to the guys. Now, that's changed because now the whole women thing has changed, and now some of the girls will get their own gangs. Some of the girl gangs that are going are harder and tougher and meaner and nastier than some of the guy gangs. But they're starting to do it because what will happen, a young girl will get attracted to a real charismatic young gang kid. And then basically, of course, these guys, because these young gang kids, they have access to these young ladies because they're later going. So they don't keep any one girl for any long period of time. So basically, when the one guy's had his fill of it, of course, the girl's passed along to 2 or 3 other guys or whatever. If she wants to stay in the club, that's what she does. So eventually, that gets too much. You got to remember too that this is all unprotected, and there's STDs flying around and whatever. So then the girls, when they're totally rejected, and you've got 8 or 9 of them that are totally rejected, they get together as their own girls and they start doing their thing. But they've been taken from the gang, so they form their own, and then the ones that are rejected, these girls will recruit them after they. The unfortunate part of that, again, is the STDs, but the unfortunate part of that too is some of these young girls. And I mean, we have this problem, and children having children. Some of these young girls are maybe 14, 15 years old, and they get pregnant from these gangbangers, and then no one's ever going to admit it. No one knows who the kid is, and then it goes through the process. And a lot of times when you see this, a lot of young girls, in a lot of the communities that we've been in, that is what's happened. I mean, that they won't admit it, they won't say it, but that is what's happened to them. Because if they've been at a party with some gangbangers and natural things happen, and all of a sudden, 14, 15, they're pregnant. Now, some of them decide to keep them, some of them have to have divorce. I mean, we have young girls that come into our care that are being abused at home and being abused by the gangbangers, and they got no place to go, so Child Family Services puts them with us. We try to work it so that they can keep their babies and they can finish their education for them and basically teach them job training and stuff. But it's really hard to do because these young girls are just too young for that. Not only that, when this happens and this happens to them, they are basically emotionally scarred. You can understand how that can happen. They're emotionally scarred. But as far as girl gangs, they're starting to come around now, but they don't last that long because they know the guys can shut them down whenever they want to. But they'll get going and they'll be in competition with other guys. The other thing too is, right now, as I said earlier, that all the gang situation is, right now, what has come to the top and up, it's a multi-level marketing business, and drugs are their product. And they're always looking for salespeople. So these girls, the gangs, they connect with them because they know that they're going to sell an awful lot of drugs for them, because they know the girls are on the street. The girls that are on the street, they're on the street simply because they're on drugs, and it's a vicious circle. So they're on the street to buy drugs, and they're on the street because they're addicted to the drugs, and these girls are connected. So the gangs can stay connected in a certain way because they're supplying them with the drugs. And another situation where there's changed a lot, and just from an educational point of view, there's no longer that the drug scene is, or the gang scene. A lot of Native guys work for the Asians. There's Asians that work for Native guys. There's blacks that work for the Asians. See, it's like, if you have ever had an experience with a multi-level marketing company, you don't care who's selling for you. As long as it's got a temperature of 98.6 degrees, they can walk and talk, and it can sell. It don't matter. So, what you're doing is you're moving your product. See, it used to be, there was a thing there, a pride thing about, well, I'm this gang, and I'm that gang, and I'm... But see, what's happened now, because the drug market is so lucrative, that ain't happening anymore. In fact, a lot of the big gangs, the top guys, they're not actually recruiting members. They have as many members as they want because they got the share of the pie. But what they do, they get what they call associates. So it's just like, again, multi-level marketing business. You're the gang guy and you got the drugs and you're moving it down. The more associates that you have and the more levels that you go down to, the more money that your gang's going to make. And the more people are addicted and the more that you're going to do, and blah, blah. Most of the gang violence that is happening right now, most of that gang violence is due entirely to market share. There's nothing noble or warrior or turf or whatever. It's market share. It just means that one gang is not getting enough of its market share for the product that they're distributing, and so they're trying to move another gang out of there so they can take that market and sell more drugs. It's not as glamorous and as a romanticized idea that you see on TV with gang stuff. It is not that way at all. It's a cold, cruel, heartless business, and what they're doing, they're addicting young children. Because what happens, how they get to recruiting, and what happens is that when you get into the gang, the first thing they're going to do is get you to sell drugs. But you may not be addicted to drugs, but you're going to sell them because there's good money in it. You can make $200-300 a day, $400-500 a day if they're moving stuff. But what happens is they're selling it, and even if they're not addicted, they start noticing why isn't anybody buying this crap. So they start using it. Once they start using it, then basically they're using part of what they should be selling. And so if you keep doing that, then what happens? You get in debt to the gang and you owe the gang's money. Once you owe them money, and with their interest system, you're hooked. You're done. And so a lot of the violence you see of gangs themselves taking out other gang members is because it's their own disciplinary thing or they owe money. And what happens when we do this, we work very hard to discourage young people from getting into gangs. Another thing that we do though is we do an awful lot of work with young people that are in gangs that want to get out. But there's different levels and different layers of gangs. When you get up to that top level, and stuff these guys are doing whatever, but there's a level there that's not quite as organized. And you're a wannabe, and you're just a bitch, and you're just doing the thing. Because I mean, what it is, like you're a go fetch. Go do a home invasion, do a drive-by, sell drugs, but you're a go fetch. When the gang boss says, gang, do this, they tell you, you go do it because you're just a go fetch. Well, what happens in some instances when these kids get into it because it looks good and it's cool, and then once they get into it and they realize that the life they had before, if their parents grounded them, then they just got grounded. But when they get into the structure of the gang and the disciplines that the gang put forth with them, when they get grounded, it's in a much different way. And so the kids find out once they get going that life is tougher within the gang structure and is far more disciplined. They're looking after me and whatever, and it's far more disciplined, but you're continually being told what to do and you've given up your life. And even if your parents are strict, you don't give up your whole life. These guys give up their whole life. And then they start rebelling against it, and that's when the discipline comes in. The only discipline is violence. Because you've got to remember, the only weapon, the only thing that gangs have, and the only weapon they have against young people and against anybody is fear. If you're not afraid, they have no power over you. And any emotion that they have is simply based on fear. Fear and intimidation. As if you're in the gang and you're doing something that I don't like, and I've got the power of the gang, and I've got my life in your hands like this feather here, and I can take your life just like that, and you're going to fear me. You may not respect me, it doesn't matter, but I can decide tomorrow morning, Richard, we don't want him around here anymore. Richard's gone. But see, that's the fear factor. And then it works all the way down. If you're in a smaller group and you got the bigger group, what happens, and a lot of times in the city, you'll get a small gang, a bunch of kids will come, and they're a gang, they call themselves whatever. And all of a sudden, they're watching, and the bigger gangs are supplying them with drugs. And then what happens, once they're doing a certain amount of business, and it's looking good, because there's always one kid in there that's the dealer. And they watch them, and all of a sudden when they start doing a good amount of business and they see what's going on, the higher up gang will come in and say, hi guys, you've been doing a great job on your own or whatever, now you're working for us. And when they say that, that's not a job offer. That means you're working for us. And if you're not working for us, you're not working. And if you say you're not going to, you don't want to get the benefits of that, of their package, because they do exactly what I said. They'll beat the crap out of you, and you won't do business for anybody. So when they come along and they say, okay, now you're working for us, now you're part of our game, some of those move up to another echelon. But then what happens, the same thing goes down, goes down, goes down, and goes down. You know what I'm saying about the multi-level marketing business and drugs out of products. And the guys at the top, now at this point in time, it's organized crime. I mean, I know personally, because they've been in my office and whatever, because they've got some problems with their own kids, is that I know the top guys in the top game. I mean, I know them personally. And I know the guy that just got taken. One guy called me, was in an accident, he had to come to see him in the hospital. But they see, when these guys, when they get there, one guy is one of the founders of Indian Posse in Winnipeg, he's one of the founders. He's 34 years old. He's done 4 terms in prison. He's done 3 2s and a 4. 34 years old. He spent 10 years of his life in prison. The first time he went in, he was 16 years old. But see, here's the other thing that people don't realize. And sometimes when you see this take up, the gangs the leadership are run from the prison system. That's where it is. And all of a sudden, let's say that I'm high up in the gang and I get burned and I get put into prison. But he's my lieutenant, and all of a sudden I'm going in and he's coming out, and he looks after things while I'm out. And vice versa. Of course, what happens in some of the gang wars that comes to happen is that sometimes I'm the boss, I go into prison, he just gets out, he's my lieutenant, I do my time and I get out, but he likes being the boss. All of a sudden, what have I got? And I got a problem. Because I was supposed to take over, and he was just working for me while I was in prison. And all of a sudden, I got a gang war. So what happens, he's got 10 guys that want him to be a gang leader, and I got 10 guys that want me to be. So within our own gang, we're fighting, and people die. And that's part of the way that it works. And there are more young people that are killed or severely injured or maimed by their own gang than by any other gang. This, what the young fellow was talking about, that got jumped out, it was his own gang that did that. Guys that he'd known for 10, 12 years, his friends. But you see, when that time comes, you don't have any friends. The guy can be your bosom buddy, and you beat against the wall with him or whatever, but when that time comes, you don't have friends. You don't have any friends. Because if they take the other side and they become his friend, they're the next ones walking around. And that's fear. You do not challenge that. And that's the way that it works. But we should kind of wait maybe after we have the lunch and see if we get more people. Because, well, it looks like everybody walked out. It must be bad or something here. Yeah, that's why I thought doing it tomorrow, because I think even like I noticed that the people at the reunion there, they had enough. That's why I said they were likely to do it tomorrow. And so they had enough. They were full. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, like I said, I don't mind tomorrow if you want to put a spot in there.
please make welcome to this group. I will quickly introduce the lead dancers, are Robert Gardner and Kirsten Maurice. The little couple, Lauren Desjardins and Colleen Morrison. Jessica Morrison, Brady DeRocher, and Aisha Gardner. Eldridge Maurice and Delaney Gardner. Mark Desjardins and Davey Lyon. Colleen Liberty and Dallas DeRocher. So, the first dance we're going to be doing is what we call a memorial infinity dance, which we're going to be doing at a slower pace. They're going to come back and they'll do Big Tom McNeil. So once again, welcome the dancers from Saki Tawala. Thank you.
dancers one big round of applause. Alex Ross, let's take it from Alex Ross. Gee, the way those kids dance is like the Canadian capital of Canada in Alex Ross. Nothing but fancy rhythm on their feet.
Welcome to the show Healing Times. This show, we were asked to write this show about 7 years ago by elders from a community in Ontario called Curve Lake. It's an Ojibwe community in Ontario. And the elders wanted us to put together a piece about the strength of the survivors and the fact that although they tried to take that strength away, that Native people are still here, present, with culture and often language intact. And so we tried to do the best that we could, and we were welcomed back into that community to put this show on, and we're very happy that they gave us permission to take this show wherever we wanted. And this show has now traveled to Europe and also all over the United States and Canada. So we're very glad to bring to you now the show Healing Times.
This was the life of the people. After a while, the strangers came, and with them, they brought traditions that were different, religions that were strange, and methods of education that the people knew nothing about. The children were to be the ones that would suffer the most. And it was the communities that stayed home that remembered and knew that suffering. The strangers came with the weight of their lands on their back, with the weight of a religion and a people that the old ones knew nothing about. They came for the children. Traditions were discarded, and the traditions of their braids were cut off. Mothers fought to have their children returned. But the government had laws that meant imprisonment and even death. Mothers wept for their children, and in that weeping came the suffering of a whole nation. Once the children returned from these strange centers of education, they knew nothing of their culture. They knew nothing of their language, and understood only what had been told to them. Nothing of a mother's love, and knew only of pain and suffering. Although some tried to remember, the memory was too painful, and lives were given up. Some fled to the urban centers, to the cities, and there they met with what lived and what survived there. For many, the answer became prostitution. Others tried to survive in a world of squares, of business and animosity. Drugs and alcohol became an answer for others. In a place foreign from that which they had known. The seduction of the city was too much. For many, disappearance was all that they wanted.
Alcohol, seduction, drugs, seduction.
The monsters that became their family now enveloped everything that they were. The city became a part of their blood, a part of their nation. This was who they were to become now. Many tried to return. Many tried to return to what was to be their home, but they could not. They tried to return to what was to be a safe place for them. Now, all that was left was for them to find their spirituality, to find who they were to become. And this was only found through their spirituality. The 4 directions became the answer. For many, the healing came in places like prisons. For others, the healing came in places where alcohol and drugs were not available. For others, the lodge became their answer. Through the smoke, the heat, and the prayer, they found who they were and who they were to become. Healing did not come easy. Many had disappeared. Only 1 out of 40 who had attended the residential schools are said to be real survivors. Through the stories of the elders came the realization opportunity to know their culture, their traditions, and even their language. It is because of the warriors that remembered, the warriors that survived those schools, that we have our songs, our dances, and our traditions today. The ladies' fancy shawl dance in celebration of that honor.
The hoops symbolize a continuous cycle of life. The dancer observes and mimics the movement of animals and recreates the animal shapes. The story is revealed as the dancer moves swiftly throughout the hoops, binding and positioning them to recreate that animal. An offering is made, and the dance a tribute to the animal spirit.
That was an honor to the four directions, the four colors, the four elements of nature, and the four ages of humanity. The gopher in the before you. This is our Father in the sky. She's gonna try it one more time. She's gonna try it one more time for you. The giver of heat and light, our Father, the Son. Ladies and gentlemen, there it is. Let's hear it for Beanie John. This is a celebration and a testament to you, our elders, the survivors of residential school. We want to thank you very much for letting us perform healing times for you here today. We'd like to bring out all our performers and introduce them to you. We have again, Miss Violet John, who was our fancy dancer and dancer, Miss Indian World. Our cross dancer and hoop dancer, Beanie John. Our dancer, Monique Diabo. Dancer, Petra Morin. And now, our men's traditional and also our round dance singer, Melvin John. And in this celebration of us being here, we'd like to ask you to join us in a round dance. So let's turn on those lights back there. And we've got Melvin who's going to sing us a good round dance song. Thank you.
We're gonna have a nice round dance song. And this song I'm gonna sing is a memorial song for all the loved ones that have left us and went back home. And everybody that can, please join us.
Sister Armstrong was in the A-block.
Beanie, you want to close up that circle? Straight up round dance. Straight up. Close up. Do you want to? If you want, Beanie, take it into a sing if you want. Watch those chords, Beanie, okay? Please watch the chords under you. inviting us to be here with you, and we hope you enjoyed Healing Times. Thank you.